Why? What could this be? Could it be an audition tape from a young actor by the name of Zach Ford, known for roles in such classic productions as Duke Nukem Forever and Corner Gas the Movie? What exactly is he auditioning for? Oh wait, hold on, I got more coming in from an external source. It turns out it's for a character named Click, in a show titled Billion Dollar Freshmen. Here's another audition tape for this production done by Harrison Taxer, whose only other credit is in that one show about the serial killer guy. This one elaborates that it's a Disney TV pilot. Who knows if they do well enough in the fang eyes of Disney Channel. There is potential that they can be among the superstars that would define this era of the network. But your intuition is almost certainly correct if you aren't familiar with these names and faces. These kids will not become the future stars Disney could seemingly pump out at will, nor did they even get the parts they were looking for. In fact, this Billion Dollar Freshman pilot will never be fleshed out into a full series, or at least as they would know it as, because Billion Dollar Freshman is more than just a failed Disney Channel project. It was a building block towards something greater than itself. And that show that I'm talking about is called Lab Rats. Yes, Lab Rats is what Billion Dollar Freshmen would eventually become. Everyone's favorite Disney Channel sitcom has a mysterious pilot, like literally everything else. And guess what? It's Lost, because of course it is! So today, on Lost Media Busters, we set our sights on the famed Billion Dollar Freshman, Disney Channel's most mysterious pitch. So what is there to say about Lab Rats?
Next generation of the human race is
living in my basement?
You might know it as the show that Kean Carlisle made a 3-hour documentary about. You might know it for the campy yet charming special effects that many of these teen 2010 sitcoms would become known for. I'm looking at you, Henry Danger. But most know it as the show about Leo Dooley, who, when his mother Tasha gets married to billionaire inventor Donald Davenport, discovers his stepdad has been developing 3 bionic teenagers in the basement under their house. Chase, Adam, and Bree. All 3 of these characters now have to figure out how to live normal lives under the file of being created in a lab, and maybe even go on some wacky, crazy, and kooky adventures where they use their bionic abilities. As the series progresses, we get introduced to more characters, more elaborate story arcs, and plots. And Marcus as well, the best character in any 2010s Disney sitcom. Overall, it's a decent show. It's not exactly the most cutting edge or unique teen sitcom of its era, but it's a nostalgic favorite for those who grew up with Disney XD. Yes, this show wasn't just a Disney Channel show, it was one of those premium Disney XD shows. A true mark of quality indeed. One thing I think makes this show very entertaining is the aforementioned story arcs. Not like your average Disney sitcom at the time that was pretty episodic. As Lab Rats would progress, story arcs that were told would establish major important world building and character development that would impact where the series would go onward, with the show basically relying on the viewers to have prior knowledge of important stories from prior seasons to understand the current big story the series had to offer.
But they're only human.
You have t-shirt cannons?
What mature adult doesn't have t-shirt cannons?
I think that says a lot about Lab Rats as a show. But what about Billion Dollar Freshmen? As mentioned before, Lab Rats would first premiere on Disney XD on February 27, 2012, becoming the most watched series premiere in the channel's history. But for our purposes, we need to rewind the clock back to the summer of 2010, where we meet the 3 big men behind the development of this show. And yes, that's what I'm going to call them. The first thing you need to know about the 3 big men is they all originate from the same source. That is, That 70s Show. A period piece teen sitcom that was quite popular among nostalgic audiences of the 90s and 2000s. In fact, Mark Brasil, the first of our 3 big men, was a major producer and writer for That 70s Show. The second thing you need to know is they would go on to play major roles in other Disney sitcoms such as the films of Family Feud and Co-op and Cammy Axe the World, aka a bunch of shows no one cares about. This leads us into the 2 other big men, Chris Peterson and Brian Moore, the actual credited creators of Lab Rats, and in the years to come would become major allies with Disney. These 3 dudes, Mark Brasil, Chris Peterson, and Brian Moore, would be the driving force behind Billion Dollar Freshmen. The main team assembled, production on a pilot would commence in June 2010 under Disney's in-house production company It's a Lab Productions. And oh, are you in for a treat, because this pilot is quite different from the Lab Rats we would come to know. Starting with the plot. According to some external sources, it's centered on 2 teenage brothers, Adam and Chase, Brad. according to this pilot, in high school who have a secret. They're bionic super soldiers implanted with high-tech bionic abilities such as super strength, night vision, and ability to download information. Now they must blend in with the real world while on the run from the government, after they hear they may be demolished and replaced by upgraded versions. Yeah, there's some weird FBI shit in this version apparently. Many sites such as Deadline will go on to describe the pilot for the show as a teenage inflation-adjusted version of the $6 Million Men, a sitcom that aired in the 1970s about another bionic dude. Fun fact, if we adjust $6 million from when the $6 Million Men premiered in 1973 to when Billion Dollar Freshmen was produced in 2010, it would be the $30,209,376.44 men. Now, any Lab Rats fan hearing this will think that some things just feel a bit off. First is the complete absence of Brie in any of this, which Bray, my co-writer of the script, theorized was added at Disney's request to make the show more appealing to girls. But remember, that's just a theory, like MatPat said in the FNAF movie. Another interesting quirk is the whole government evasion angle. In the actual series, Donald Davenport and his creations are of unclear origin, just magically appearing in the household when they are discovered by Leo. Billion Dollar Freshmen would have seemed to have more backstory behind their creation as government lab experiments, including a Davenport-esque character named Gil L. Arroy, also played by Hal Sparks, who would eventually play in Lab Rats Big D himself. The beloved Bill Younger was casted as Brad before the character was later turned into Chase, while Spencer Bowman would have stayed as Adam going into Lab Rats. The concept of the main characters being chased by the FBI would have been a similar concept that was used in a different manner in Lab Rats. In the early half of the series, Adam, Bree, and Chase and the rest of the family kept their bionic secret away from the public in order for them to not be taken away from the government and be experimented on. However, in Lab Rats Season 3, the FBI would finally play a significant role in the storyline. You posted what? The two-part episodes basically, where the bionic secret finally comes out to the world, which leads to the FBI raiding the Davenport house to take away the bionic trio. So I guess even in the final show, Billion Dollar Freshmen's take did have some presence. After production wrapped up on the pilot, it was pitched to Disney Channel and almost immediately greenlit for a full series. A few years of development, casting, and filming later, Lab Rats would officially premiere in 2012 on Disney XD. But why were there so many changes made thematically before the final product? Let's start with that name, Billion Dollar Freshman. It's a clear play on the name of this show's main inspiration, the $6 Million Men. Maybe that name was a little too on the nose for Disney's liking, so we'll change it into something more safe, like Lab Rats. Boom! As for the whole government escape plot, perhaps the higher-ups wanted a more down-to-earth plot a younger audience could understand. So the choice was made to have the bionics originate in a quirky scientist's house rather than as CIA experiments. Remember that this is mostly just speculation. There are a lot of more questions surrounding the development of this show than answers. Why is that, you might be asking yourselves. This is the point in which I have to let all of you Bill Younger stands down and say that Billion Dollar Freshman is a drumroll please?
Say the line, Bart!
Lost Media, of course it is, but I still wanted to hype you guys out. Like most pitch pilots, Billion Dollar Freshman was exactly that, a pitch and nothing but that. The only purpose of the pilot was to make Disney Channel say, hey, this looks neat, I bet we can make a whole show of this. And thus, once it served its purpose, it was buried away, never to be seen again. Well, except for a few behind the scene images that originate from a weird Facebook account titled Lab Rats, formerly known as Billion Dollar Freshmen, which I can only assume is an insider source. Here's one of the boys just hanging out. Here's another where they are in a process of filming on a giant green screen. But the two I want to highlight are this picture of a prop with the seal of an unknown organization known as the Nanotech Development Laboratory, and this image also featuring the boys. But wait a minute, look at his shirt. There seems to be some sort of partially found official Billion Dollar Freshman logo on it. I wish we knew what it fully looks like, but one can only dream. The aforementioned Zach Ford and Harrison Taxer audition footage, available on YouTube, also gives us more information on the show, including the character of Click that Zach and Harrison were auditioning for. From watching the footage, Click was going to be the regular human character that would have known the secret bionic identities of the two brothers. He would also probably been the nerd of the group, having a huge interest in science and technology. There was also mention of a character named Agent O, who from what the audition explains is a character after the two brothers that killed him, which pretty much would have meant Agent O was planned as the main antagonist of the series. From what I can speculate, the character of Click later went on to become Leo in Lab Rats. Just the similarities, the two characters having found out the bionic identities of the main bionic characters by complete accident. One more thing I want to add is from looking at the picture of the green screen with the cast on the left, I could see an actor that looks like Tyrell Jackson Williams, Leo himself. There isn't that much solid info that I can buck up that he was actually involved with Billion Dollar Freshmen, but if he was, I would speculate he played Click. Again, due to the aforementioned similarities with Leo, the character he would have played in the main show. And so we turn our attention back to Sackford and Harrison Thatcher, whose audition give us one of our only clues into how the classic Disney sitcom came to be. Even if they wouldn't get the part, it seems that fate would decide that Billion Dollar Freshman wouldn't stick around either. Look, I want this pilot to get found maybe more than anyone else. Lab Rats is a nostalgic childhood favorite of mine, and potentially getting to see where the show started is a dream. Many of these videos can be considered a call to action, so maybe, just maybe, if this gets to the right people, someone will reveal all the secrets. Because one day when this pilot gets found, I promise you, I'll truly be a $1 billion freshman. Hey, if you like this video, it would be cool to support us by clicking the YouTube buttons. After all, you might just get bionic powers. Ooh. This has been Ultra Chris from the Lost Media Busters, and thanks for watching once again, and see you guys next time.
Now it's time to beat up Ultra Chris.